Our everyday life can really drag us down and kill our creativity, don't you think? I feel that way sometimes. I'm just so tired of dealing with everyday things, and by the time I sit down to write, it's like, I don't have any creative energy left. Where am I supposed to pull that from? So today we're going to talk about creativity and how to create your own creativity so that when you do sit down to write, you will have that creativity to pull from. You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world. Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante and I'm a women's fiction author, and I am hopefully here to inspire you to write and to follow your dreams. So let's talk about creativity, because you can't write anything unless you have that creative energy. And how do you create that creative energy? Let's talk about that. So today I heard on a podcast that being a writer is like living in perpetual quarantine. And I had to kind of laugh at that, because though it's true, we do spend a lot of time alone, right, in our own space and in our own minds creating stories. To me, it doesn't feel like perpetual quarantine. It just feels like I'm in perpetual place of creative energy, right? But sometimes it's not that way, because we let that go. We forget that the reason that we wanted to write to begin with, and for many of us, it's sort of that ability to play with language and with words and with story. And that's what you want to bring back. Okay, so as a writer, a lot of times we get kind of trapped in the world of having to create a story, especially if you're a published writer. You know, and you have a contract to create more stories. It can get sort of it can feel like, you know, you're just working to write the next story for that contract, and you can forget that you have this, you know, this need to just play with words, and you need to do that. You need to allow yourself some time just to have fun. And I find that when I do that, I usually come up with the best story ideas. And back when I wrote Becoming Latina in 10 Easy Steps, that's exactly what I did. I was just sitting around a bit frustrated because editors, I guess it was at the time, I would submit my work and they kept saying that the stories were not Latino enough, and they wanted me to create stories that were more Latino, and I wasn't really quite sure what they meant by that, you know, because the characters were Latino, and I didn't know like what makes them more Latino. They just are. So how can you make them more of what they already are? And I wasn't quite sure, so I was really just kind of sitting around doodling, thinking of silly things, and I started to write a silly story. I started to just have fun and say, okay, well, I'm never going to sell this. This isn't a story that I'm going to submit to my agent or to anybody else. It's just me having fun. And so I just started writing the story of a girl who tries to become more Latina by doing, you know, taking on some stereotypes that are typical Latino stereotypes. And that's what I did, and I was just really just playing around and having fun and just writing the dumbest things that I could think of. And when my agent at the time asked me what I was doing, I said, well, I'm really not doing anything. I'm just trying to think of a story. And so I told her, you know, that I was writing this dumb thing. And so she said, well, that sounds really good, actually, and I want to see it. And I'm like, oh no, you don't want to see it, because this is really just me messing around. It's not anything that you're going to be interested in. And so she said, no, I really do want to see it. It sounds really good. So I sent it to her, and she really fell in love with it. And really the reason that I think the story was successful, and the reason that I think that she liked it, right, and other people liked it once they read it, was because I wasn't stressed out about the story. It was just something that I wrote because I was having fun, and I was being creative. I was being silly. I was being, you know, I was laughing at my own writing. I wasn't stress saying I have to write this, or I have to be good, or I have to sell it, or I have to make it more Latino. I just really didn't do that. And I think the more that we do that as writers, the more we enjoy writing, the more we allow ourselves to play with words and play with story ideas, even if they don't seem like they're going to be something that other people are going to want to buy or read, just something that we're having fun with. And you can even do that. Say, okay, I'm just going to take the next 30 minutes and I'm going to write something nobody else is going to read. And I don't really care if anybody else likes it or reads it, and I don't even care if it's good, and I don't even care if I like it. I'm just going to do it, and because it just sounds good today, and I'm just and just playing with story and allowing yourself to kind of relax and enjoy it again. Because if you're always trying to produce something, and you're always trying to write something that is good, right? It puts a lot of stress on you that creative spirit doesn't like. Like who wants to be stressed out? Anytime you're doing something that you're forced to do or that you're stressed doing, you're not going to do your best job. So that's the first thing, is really allow yourself some time to play. And you never know what's going to come out of that, right? So it might be that little story that you wrote, that you left those 30 minutes a day to write and just have fun, and you go back and start looking through that. It might spark something in you. You might say, you know what, this really isn't that dumb of an idea. This is really good. And maybe I can expand on that. And maybe that becomes your next book or becomes your first book, right? So do that. Get a journal, open up a computer file, and start. If you can't play around for 30 minutes, do for 15 minutes. But take some time to just play with story and enjoy writing just for the heck of it, not because you want to write something that's going to sell. And that helps a little to open up some of that creative energy that you have, but that you usually suppress, right? Because you want to write something that the market wants, or that you think your agent or editor or a certain publication is going to want. So first thing is just allow yourself to enjoy writing again and to play around with language. Okay, the next thing is to write a lot of crap. Okay, so those 30 minutes or those 15 minutes that you're just writing and you're playing, right? But then you need to have the time where you're really writing. You're really working on your novel, or you're really working on whatever. So it doesn't even have to be a novel or a story. I write a blog every single day. And when I first decided that I was going to do this, I'm going to write a blog every single day, it was overwhelming, and I had some days where I was like, I have nothing to say. Like same thing as making videos, right? So if I'm making a video, I don't make a video every single day because I don't think I have enough to say for every single day. Right now I'm doing one every single week, and then I may increase that later. But for my blogs, since I'm a writer, I decided I'm going to write one every single day. But there were days where I was like, I really don't know what to write about. I've given my words of wisdom, every single day this week, and today I really have nothing to say. But I forced myself to continue to do that. And so like the first, 20 days, it was like, okay, I have enough to say. And then 25 days, and then 30, and then 40, and then 50. And then I was like, okay, I'm running out of ideas. I don't know what to write about. What can I say to help other writers? What can I write about? And so I would think of something. But what started happening is some of the blogs are good. Some of them are just not as good, right? Some of them are like, okay, I had to think of something to write, and this is what I wrote about. But by writing and forcing yourself to write every day, what ends up happening is, yeah, some things are good, some things are not good, but you start to have ideas because you're in that creative thing. When I sit down to write a blog now, I actually am not lacking in ideas. Now what tends to happen is that I really have to choose, like, okay, did I want to write about this, or do I want to write about this? Should I start organizing my writing into like themes? So every Monday I'm writing about craft, and every Tuesday I'm writing about this, because I have all these other things that I want to say. And the reason that happens is because I'm doing it all the time. So my brain is automatically looking now for, oh, I should write about that. In fact, the other day I woke up and I had this like, oh, this is going to make a great blog post. I got to write about this. Then I went on with my day, and when I sat down to write, I'm like, what was that again? I couldn't remember. because it was something that I thought about right when I woke up. But what that tells me is that my brain is already thinking of something to write about, because what I do is I write my blogs in the morning. I get up, and some days I'll take my dogs for a walk, and then I'll come back and I'll write my blog. Some days I'll just sit down and I'll start writing my blogs, and later on I'll go to the pool. So I try to add my some kind of workout in the morning as well. But I'm writing my blogs every morning, so my brain knows you have to write a blog this morning, and it starts to think of ideas before I can sit down. For fiction as well. So with fiction, the more you write, the more you're sitting down and being creative and writing your chapters, the more you're going to be in that creative mindset, the more you're going to be in that creative mood, and it's going to come to you more, even when you're not sitting in your office writing, or at your kitchen table, wherever you write. Because you do it all the time, you start to get used to it. Okay, so allow yourself to write things that aren't that good, but as long as you're doing it all the time, as long as you're writing all the time, because for some reason, the more we do something, the more your brain, the more creative you are. And so I don't know if you notice that, or like, reading stories, the more, I guess, immersed I am in writing, the more ideas I have and the better my writing becomes, because the more I do it, of course, the better it becomes. Okay, and let's leave the writing world for a minute. And we live in a world of all kinds of stuff, of smells and nature and this and that. So let the world outside of your office and your computer inspire you as well. So go out and do things. So sometimes we are lacking in creativity because our life is going to work, taking care of family, taking care of dinner, doing just kind of the mundane things of life, and then we end up not having it drain you from any creative energy. So the way to bring that back in is to do things that inspire you, and that is different for everyone, right? So if you like nature, if you like going out, if you find that inspires you, then you should do more of that. You should get out in nature and do things and experience life. Because the more you're out there doing stuff, the more you're going to have, you're going to be refilling that well of creativity, so that when you do write, you'll have things to write about. You'll have smells that you can incorporate into your story. You'll have images and colors and all kinds of other things. So get out there into the real world and experience things, because that's what you're going to be bringing back to your stories. Okay, you also want to have your writing area be more inspiring, right? So, I talked about smells and all of that. That includes your writing area. So if you are, if you enjoy, let's just say, the smell of coffee, have that coffee cup there. If you enjoy certain candle smells and makes you want to, gets you into the writing mood. And I love candles. I try all kinds of different ones. There was one even that I thought, I smelled it, I think I picked it up at Marshall's, and it was said like tobacco and something. I'm like, okay, this has got to be nasty. So I opened it up to smell it. It actually smelled really good. It didn't smell like tobacco, honestly. It had a little smoky scent to it, but it smelled like a cologne, and it smelled really good. Well, it had sort of a romantic smell to me. So I brought it home, and I opened it up when I was writing, and it was nice, right? It filled my room with a nice scent. Colors. I think I read somewhere that blues are kind of calming and inspire creativity. I don't know if it's true, but and I don't have a lot of blue in my room. I have a lot of white, but I do have a big screensaver on my screen, and it is of my daughter sitting on Catalina Island with one of her friends, and there's the blue waves. Okay, so I do have a little blue. So whatever inspires you, whatever colors, whatever scents, have that around you as well. So the nicer you can make your writing area, the more inspired you will be to write. And that's something that's minor, but anything that helps. It's some people can write anywhere. I honestly can write anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me what it looks like. One thing I don't like in my office is clutter. Right now my office is kind of cluttered, and that I think stifles creativity, at least for me. So kind of understand what makes you more creative, or what kills your creativity. Take that stuff out and bring in the things that make you want to write, that inspire you to write. Okay, and on that note, also be careful what you consume, because what we eat, what we drink has an effect on us as well, right? So, for one of my novels, I've done different things, just depending on when it is, what age and what, people change. So I've done things where I've drank coffee at night, then I would stay up to write till 2 in the morning, then I'd get up and be pretty tired in the morning when I had to go to work. But that was my thing at the time. It's like, okay, I'm going to have this cup of coffee at night after everything, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, whatever time I started writing. And I would have the coffee and I would get energized and it would be great. And then I'd crash, go to sleep, and be tired the next day. Then there was another time when I thought, I'm going to have a glass of wine. It helps me to unwind and clears my mind, and it makes me think. And well, I don't know if it really cleared my mind, but it was relaxing, and it was like, okay, and I had a glass of wine, and then I would write. But be careful what you consume. So right, how you feel when you eat something heavy or when you eat certain things. You might eat sugar and get energized, or you might have that coffee and that caffeinated drink, but then it might wear you out faster, and then you might not write as well. So be careful what you're putting in your body, be careful what you are consuming, because it's going to have an effect on your creativity again. And a lot of times, you might try, I don't know how you feel about fasting, but I've heard, I don't do this at all because I like food, but I've heard that fasting actually makes you more energetic. So that might be something, right? You might want to try the opposite, right? Instead of consuming anything, consuming nothing, and see if that what that feels like. Okay, so what the point of it is, right, is that when you feel like you are kind of missing that creative energy, is you have to start to create it yourself. It's not going to come to you. It's just something that you create. So bring in the things that energize you, bring in the things that inspire you, go out and become more inspired, get away from your office for a little while. All of those things help us to get away from the things that are draining, or the work that is exhausting. Sometimes your brain is just like, I don't really want to think because I'm so tired of thinking. I'm so tired of the things I had to do at work, or the issues, or even like the world, right? The world and the things that are happening all over the world, right? No matter where you live right now, there's craziness happening, and there's things that can be very stressful, and can be exhausting. Like I get tired. I don't listen to the radio anymore, and I don't watch news very much because it's so draining. But sometimes I do, and sometimes I'll go to like YouTube, and it's like you see the headlines, right, on things, political stuff, or things that are happening, and you click on that, and then I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Because now I'm like stressed, right? So do less of that, and I will too. And bring in the things that inspire you. When I go on my walks, I listen to podcasts about writing, or I listen to podcasts about that are inspiring, about success, and about things that are positive, because we need that. If we don't have that positivity, and we don't have the sort of that energy, the things that help us create positive energy and creative energy, how can we actually come back and be creative? Okay. It's not something we're going to generate from the inside, really. I mean, we generate our own happiness, I believe, but creativity, we can be tired, and we can get exhausted, and then we have nothing left to create. So you want to go out there and get some of that creativity, and allow yourself to absorb some of that, so that you have it when you're ready to write. Okay, so good luck. Do things to become more creative. And come back next week and see me again. If you like this video, please hit the like button, hit the share button, and the notification button, and all of those things. Just click everything that's down there, and I will see you again next week. Bye.